My name is Judy Brown, and I'm here with my colleagues Joanne Longo and Pamela Luckett. We work for Barry University's School of Adult and Continuing Education. We're Florida girls, so we don't get to wear sweaters like this too often, so I'm really happy to be here. We're lucky if we get, a dozen days during the winter to wear this type of clothing. I'm from the Miami area. We have approximately 20 sites around the state of Florida. Joanne is from Cape Canaveral. I'm sure you've heard of that. And Pamela is from Melbourne, Florida, which is on the east coast of Florida, maybe 150 miles north of Miami. Today we want to talk about what it's like to sustain education. And I think a lot of the speakers that we've already heard have mentioned that. I thought this was such a great theme when I heard about it a couple of months back and decided to put in a proposal. I actually teach a course on the environment and politics when I have time to teach. And to me, sustainability is kind of ingrained in water and, doing stuff for waste management, things like that. But what a great idea to look at PLA as a sustainable method for education. So we want to recognize that PLA is not only for an educational program, but it's vital to the sustainability, the idea of lifelong learning on the planet and globally, as Peter Smith talked about. With so many people out of work, educators can have the opportunity now to facilitate the recognition of prior learning. Why would we throw it away? Hopefully we're not throwing away things like we used to, all this plastic that we find in the oceans, etc. And why would we throw away learning? Why can't we reuse it and recycle it and thus reduce the time to get your degree and reduce attrition? What I'm going to do today is briefly go over the CAEL study, Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, and talk about, we participated in that study in the summer of 2009, along with 48 other institutions of higher learning, both here and in Canada. And you have a packet there, and I have the executive summary within that packet of the study. Now, I'm going to concentrate on Barry University's, or as we call our school, ACES program. They gave us separate results for our program as well as the general results for all the schools that participated. And you can find this online if you want the entire study on how PLA is a sustainable learning method for adult learners. You can go online and get it at www.cael.org, O-R-G. And it's stated in your packet, the name of that. Who has that? Do you guys have the name of that on the outside? Executive summary for the race to higher or post-secondary education. It's on the cover of the handout. Okay. Also in your packet are the slides. Now, I admit that some of the slides are teensy, because we included some things in there that from Noel Levitz and other organizations. But we would be happy if you want the regular slides, just contact us. Our contact information is in the packet also. After I go over the study very briefly and tell you what you already know in your gut, but now we have research to back it up, we're going to segue into, Joanne will talk about our e-portfolio program and the features of an e-portfolio that make it truly sustainable in the 21st century learning. Okay? And finally, Pam will give a demonstration of a very basic e-portfolio that we give to students, and there's one in your packet also. It's called the Julia Winthrop Sample e-portfolio, and show you how students put that together, how you can navigate it. Very, very basic, but very important, I think, for 21st century learning. And I know Peter Smith mentioned this in his presentation about leveling the playing field for everyone here. with access to the internet. Who knows what critically thought about blogs and social networking sites might bring to a portfolio. Now, I'm not talking about the camera that follows you around all day, that people have on the internet, but professional blogs and things like that. If you believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words, then the e-portfolio can enable students to show you, demonstrate their learning in a way that narrative portfolios cannot do. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but the possibilities are endless with the e-portfolio. So let's get started on the CAEL study, Council for Adult and Experiential Learning. What they did is that they wanted to look at the efficacy of PLA in higher education. We participated by supplying data on 1,200 new students, and all of the schools that participated supplied this cohort. New students between 2000 and 2002, and they followed them until 2008. What did the study tell us about reusing, recycling, and reducing time to degree? Well, as I said, it told us what we already basically know. They looked at, for their research, do adults who earn PLA credit have better graduation rates compared with those who don't earn PLA credits? Do they earn their degrees in a shorter period of time? Do they have better persistence? And I can tell you the answers to those questions, but I'll wait to the end. I'll keep it dramatic here, 48 post-secondary institutions with over 60,000 learners participated, okay? And the PLA options, while we focus primarily on portfolios, we do have these other options also for our students. There are challenge exams, the portfolio, standardized tests, military transcripts that have been approved by an organization called the American Council on Education. Military training can be very sophisticated and now is parlayed into an equivalent to courses you take on a baccalaureate level and some on a graduate level. Advanced placement testing, which we have in our high schools, where you can take an advanced placement English course and gain college credits for that, even though, as long as you pass a test, even though you're not in college yet. And something we call licensure credits, Microsoft licensure. We have a variety of credits in that area, and so do a lot of other schools. We're pretty judicious in what we choose, not just any license. There has to be a need for it and a large population in our school that possesses the license. So these are the different types that CAEL looked at. As far as Barry went, 54% of that cohort of our students did some form of PLA, okay? Generally, in the 60,000 plus, 25% did PLA. We have been doing PLA since the mid-1970s, okay? So it's one major reason people come to our university and to the School of Adult and Continuing Education. So we're kind of ahead of the curve on that. The general breakup of male-female, almost even. But today there are many more women who are engaged, first of all, degree seeking at the university, and also who are doing PLA. So it's more like today a 75-25% balance in portfolios that we receive. But don't forget, this cohort was back 2001, 2002, and followed to 2008. This may be a little difficult to see. It's the ethnic breakup, African American students, Hispanic students, Caucasian students, again, almost even, except for the other, and I don't know who the others are, somewhere in there, because we do not have any First Nation people at our university. The Miccosukee and the Seminoles usually have their own. Well, I had one portfolio from a Miccosukee student recently, but they usually have their own educational system, and those are the two most common tribes in Florida. Age-wise, 35 and up is the greatest number of students who do PLA. The younger students, though they're more proficient, especially in the area of e-portfolios, take the coursework. Okay. What is available to them in many colleges and universities are academic portfolios, okay, where they follow their academic career throughout their undergraduate program or their graduate program. Okay, and that's very popular, and they've been around for about 15, 20 years, mainly with information coming out of Stanford University in California and Penn State University in Pennsylvania. But our students are basically, the average age is 36, 37. I happen to be 38, but, you know, I still kind of fit into that little model there. This is a very telling one. How many students persisted to a degree in that cohort, okay, in that 1,200 student cohort? 89% of our students who took PLA obtained their bachelor's degree. You're not going to throw away 15, 18, 21, 24 credits. We can give up to 30 credits for a portfolio, in a 4-year institution. If you go to a 2-year institution, you can have up to 15 credits. That's our regional accreditation guideline. Also here, what this shows is that the students who earned 80% or more of their credits needed to graduate had PLA in their program. Okay. The students who earned 10% or fewer of credits on the other side of the scale for graduation, only 31% of those, they did not have PLA in their program. So the results. Do adults who earn PLA credit have better graduation rates compared to those who do not earn PLA credit? Absolutely. They have better rates. They're more motivated, they're more persistent, and as Peter Smith and others talked about today, they identify themselves as learner. You know, oh, wow, I did have patterns in my work life, in my community activities. There are skills I learned. I read a wonderful essay once by a dean of community college who said she learned everything about administration raising her children. You know, because she... I don't know how she did it, but it's understandable to me that learning is big. And that is from David Kolb. David Kolb, we use his model, and most universities in the United States use Kolb's model to demonstrate the transformation of experience to learning, which has a huge reflection component. Okay, and others say that without reflection, you can't get to that tacit learning. They earn their degrees in a shorter period of time? Absolutely. Up to, in the CAEL report that you have, it says something up to 6 to 8 months shorter in order to earn their degree. They want to get in, they want to do their work, and they want to go on with their lives. I mean, don't we all? All right. And finally, do they have better persistence? Did it reduce attrition? Yes. Time to degree? Yes. Did it reduce cost to degree? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are very excited about PLA. I've been working with it for 21 years now, and I'm still crazy about it. So thank you, and I'm going to move it over to my colleagues now. Standardized tests are very little of what our students do. Yes, and I would say at most. All right, standardized tests, CLEP, things like that. You can only transfer in so many at some point in time. It's before junior status, whereas portfolios can be done We don't use them for entry level like a lot of in the European Union and in Canada and things like that, but as a component of degree completion, as a component of your college credits. Okay, so that's the most popular component that I have found. We gave these students other options because our accreditation agency keeps reducing the amount of portfolio credits that they are allowing into degrees.
Thank you, Judy. I was at a presentation in a conference several years ago when I heard Barry Sheckley from the University of Connecticut facilitate a session called All Learning is Experiential. He went on to talk about how collegiate programs that provide and recognize multidimensional instructional opportunities provide their learners with rich options that enhance the depth and the breadth of the conjunctive representations they develop as they learn, come to understand, and bring meaning to a concept. This really resonated with us because we were in the process of expanding our PLA program by taking our paper-based experiential learning portfolio and providing just that, a multidimensional opportunity to our students. We wanted to offer our students a way to create a more in-depth presentation of their portfolios and their other prior learning assessment. We wanted them to be able to clarify and validate their PLA through multimedia. We wanted to provide them new methods of articulating and demonstrating learning and their competencies. We wanted to enable our students to illustrate their information and communication technologies. We wanted an increased level of creativity and be able to have more of their voice and personality reflected within their portfolios, and thus provide a richer, self-reflective, student-centered approach to learning. Another added value of the e-portfolio was a more professional, more in-depth presentation of the skills and competencies they developed. This not only assisted our students in their self-marketing efforts, but also benefited the university in our assessment and accreditation purposes. But it also helped us in our marketing and recruitment efforts. One of those studies we already talked about. Numerous studies have reflected that the adult students want their prior learning to be validated and evaluated. So in a 2008 national study conducted by STAMATS, credit for learning from life experience fell in the top 5 reasons why potential students would choose a particular institution over another one. You can see on the slide, hopefully, that 75% of all the potential undergraduate students would be more interested in an institution if they offered some form of credit for learning from life experience. So during our planning, this also reflected in 2 of our student satisfaction surveys that we had conducted by Noel Levitz. Our latest one, our results came out from 2009. You'll also see where our students had looked at these factors in their decision to enroll at Barry University, and that became a very important factor for them. Their credit for learning gained from life and work experience was the 7th top reason of importance and why they attended Barry. So during our planning stage, we discussed various options for the platform. We could contract with an outside vendor where our students would input their information, but we ultimately decided to have our students utilize our PowerPoint foundation, where they could incorporate the videos, audios, pictures, and hyperlinks. By saving all the information onto a CD or a DVD, the student could always access it, and they could update the information at any time. And since we wanted them to own their own portfolios. This was also easier for our university to support the students because throughout the development of the e-portfolio, and according to Helen Barrett, this type of platform allows for a greater emotional connection and intrinsic motivation since there is more learner control versus the organizational control. They were more vested in doing this process, and that totally reflected what they wanted to present in their portfolios. So what was our process overall? We started researching and brainstorming back in the fall of 2004. We completed 2 pilots before we implemented a system-wide program. In our first pilot, we wanted to keep it small and this was held only in our Central Florida region with a small group of students. The students represented various majors and, more importantly, the different technology skill levels. We wanted to see if the students had to have some level of skill technology-wise in order to complete this. When we finished with the pre and post tests of our students, staff, and faculty, we realized this first model was not going to be sustainable. So we had to go ahead and revise a few things for our second pilot. One thing we did was expanded our locations, adding several sites down in the Miami area. We also added additional intake staff and faculty readers. One of the bigger things that we did was because we found that the students were not able to complete the portfolio to the fullest degree without if they didn't have previous computer skill. So we did end up with the prerequisite that the students had to complete our basic computer course, our CAT 102 program. The other major change was we took our technology workshops and took them from the classroom setting to be online through Blackboard. So how does our ELEP process differ from our paper-based portfolios? Well, you'll see initially it's the same. All of our students, whether they do a paper-based or they do the electronic portfolio, will still attend a seminar where the entire process is explained to them. They will still develop the same 5 major sections. The format and content will be the same, and each of the sections are still going to be reviewed by their intake staff member. They also must meet the requirements. For example, all of our students are required to have successfully completed and passed an upper-level English writing course. They have to maintain a minimum GPA of 2.0, and they have to be in active status. But there were a few additional requirements for our ePortfolio students. We also asked them to attend 9 hours of developmental workshops. These were optional for our paper-based portfolios. And they had to then attend the technical development workshops. And within the technical development workshops, our students, through Blackboard, were able to access the sample ELEP, a technical manual, and have access to an IT instructor and mentor. So let me just quickly go through our 5 main sections and show you how the technology is linked to those 5 main sections. And our first section is our introductory section, where we have various forms that they have to complete as well as a goal statement. Our second section is the experiential learning resume. In this area, the students have a credit award area as well as a credit support area, and we do evaluate the learning from things such as part-time, full-time work experience, as well as community service and activities and professional organizations and activities. Our third main section is our learning assessment worksheet, where they're going to start separating their experiences from their learning. The fourth section is our autobiographical learning essay, where they're going to express that transformation of experience to learning by applying Kolb's model. And our last section is the documentation section. All of our students have to be able to verify and have reliable, complete, consistent, measurable documentation supporting everything that they've stated in the resume. Now, within certain of these sections, we were able to utilize and incorporate some of the technical aspects. For example, the video, pictures, and clip art were encouraged within the sections, such as the goal statement, within the essay, and as well as in the documentation. The resume, the LAW, and the essay also, they were enabled to directly link their documentation to each of the positions and activities, and then they were also able to link the name, their companies and their organizations, which allowed our faculty to further investigate and learn more about either that company or the industry. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Luckett. She's going to talk to you about more of the technical design and development process, and then we're going to show our ELEP. Thank you.
I guess I'll move this so you won't have to move it. How about that? First of all, I bring you greetings from Barry University, which is located in Miami Shores, from the faculty, staff, and the students. We are really happy to be here. One of the things that my colleagues failed to tell you is that, of course, our portfolio program has been around for a while, but Dr. Brown is the brainstorm of this whole thing. So any questions that you have, please make sure you talk to her, because she can talk to you about the process. And in fact, the research that she and Joanne have conducted on prior learning assessment has really moved us to a different level at Barry University. So I applaud them for all of their efforts. Now, one of the things that they did was they brought me in because I'm the technical person for this piece. As Joanne stated, there are 5 interrelated components that make up our electronic portfolio. In fact, it is the same as she stated for the paper-based model as well. We really thought about, when we talked about the electronic portfolio, we really did some research to try to figure out what particular application would we utilize so that it could be in the best interest of not only the students, the faculty, but also the university from an economical perspective. So we really had to go back and take a look to see what applications that the university actually have access to at that particular moment. And then as we began to really analyze, and we were thinking this needs to be as user-friendly process as possible for both the students and also for the faculty member who actually assess the portfolios as well. So we decided to utilize Microsoft PowerPoint. And we used Microsoft PowerPoint because that was our standard slate of applications that the university actually utilized. And students, if they actually wanted to purchase the Microsoft Office suite of application, they could actually do so from the university for a small fee. So this actually worked very well for us. And then the faculty members, they were already used to utilizing Microsoft PowerPoint, so it wasn't that we needed to train them on how to actually go in and navigate through the process. By utilizing Microsoft PowerPoint, it allowed for the students to be able to integrate various different multimedia options, such as doing a recording of themselves when they're talking about their goal statement, actually going in and just being very, very creative, which is what we encourage when they go in to actually do the design for their actual electronic portfolio. And then we were able to go in and be able to navigate throughout each particular component by utilizing hyperlinks, which are very, very easy to actually go in and to set up. And so we made sure that there were navigational buttons that also allowed us to be able to go back and forth to be able to go in to review that particular electronic portfolio. Now, this was very, very important because when you think about it from a faculty's perspective, and I'm a faculty, we all have different ways of going in to actually review the portfolio. So this had to be very, very user-friendly because some faculty members say, okay, I want to look at the documentation first. Some say, okay, I want to go to the resume first. So we had to make sure that we had a navigational bar so that regardless of whatever the particular format that they utilized to assess the portfolio, the paper-based portfolio, they had the same option from the electronic perspective. Now, when we actually did the second study, they actually had to attend some technical workshops. And since Barry University is actually geographically located, in 19 different counties throughout the state of Florida, it was very, very difficult for someone to actually be at every site. So we decided to actually take the training and put it into Blackboard. So in addition to putting that particular workshop in through Blackboard, we also created a technical manual. And the technical manual was awesome because we were able to create that technical manual and then overlay it with voice. So they were able to click on various different aspects and they could actually hear me talking. So it's just like I was right there with them. So the technical manual really laid out the process for them with respect to how to go in and to create the various different the slides, to go in and actually do a layout, add the slides, go in and add the background, the color, those particular things which they would have gained knowledge when they actually took the computer literacy course that we have at the university as well. So this was actually another alternative they could actually use to assist them when they were actually designing their electronic portfolio. So what I want to do now is actually show you one of our actual portfolios so that you can see what students actually did with the Julia Winthrop electronic portfolio. Okay. As you can see, this is, it wasn't too much creativity that actually went into this one. This was one with that meted the actual minimum qualifications for our particular portfolio. And I'm just going to navigate through this for you. As we said in the beginning, there were actually 5 components, and as you can see from our content page, you're actually able to navigate yourself so that you can actually go to which one of the particular components you actually want to start with. So if you look at our introductory section, and this is basically a lot of housekeeping for us because there are some particular forms that we need to make sure that the students actually completed. You actually had a checklist that really went over the various different components that basically laid out that these were the particular things that you needed to verify that you had completed for our particular portfolio process. You were able to see an unofficial transcript for that particular student and also look at the goal statement for that particular student. So if you actually went and looked at our electronic portfolio checklist, you will actually see that it just has those particular sections, just reminding them, did you burn the actual CD? Did you make sure that all of your particular sections, were they actually covered and were they actually saved and those particular things? So we actually wanted to make sure that once again, even though we had been going through the training process with them, go back through this checklist just to make sure that you did everything that you were supposed to do as well. The one thing I want you to see that across the top is that we also have the navigational buttons there as well. So no matter what page you're on from this point on, you will always have the navigational buttons up at the top that will allow you to be able to navigate yourself through this particular electronic portfolio. So say, for example, we wanted to actually go to the student's resume. When you look at the resume, as Joanne stated, our resume is actually divided into a credit award area and the credit support area. But if I pull up a printable copy of that resume, I'm actually able to see that student's resume. And you'll see that there are a lot of hyperlinks which are in blue because this particular document is linked back to the supporting documentation, the PDFs of the employers that actually wrote a letter talking about the particular learning competencies that that particular student actually gained in that position that they had. Now, in addition to the documentation, the students also, depending upon what organization they actually work for, you can also see that that particular student that will actually also hyperlink out to the company's actual website, so that if a faculty member is trying to find out, okay, what was this organization about, we can actually go to that particular site and just click right on that link so that we can actually be able to see this. And there's no need for them to have to go conduct the research and say, oh, where's this company? What is this company all about? We actually made this so that it was very, very user-friendly from the faculty member's perspective as well. So we were able to see that. All right. We have another component which is considered to be our learning assessment worksheet, and that's where you will actually see where the student actually takes each one of those particular positions, and it's laid out so that they talk about the particular tasks and responsibilities that they had for that particular position, and then we look at the competencies that that student talked about that they actually gained while working in that particular position. And once again, we have the hyperlinks so that we can easily get to the supporting documentation that verifies that particular position. Okay, and so you'll see that as you go through the learning assessment worksheet, it will have each particular position actually laid out for us, and we can actually go in and just verify not only the actual organization, but we can also verify the actual information that came from the actual supervisors. Okay? And then, of course, that last particular piece is that of the documentation. And the documentation, and while students are actually putting this presentation together, the documentation just supports all of the other components that they've been working with, okay? So that documentation folder just houses all of the documentation from the work experience, the community service experience, any learning, a training that actually occurred, any documentation that they had for their particular e-portfolio would actually be placed into the documentation folder so that they can easily go back and forth and hyperlink to the various different components. And what we found that for anyone who actually works with technology, one of the things that was going to be very, very important for students to do was to make sure that they created everything in a folder so that when they got ready to actually burn to the CD or they got ready to actually upload somewhere else, as long as it was in a folder, it kept the links together. And I think that that was like one of our lessons learned in the beginning because we didn't have them to keep it in the folders. And so that was one of the first lessons learned for everyone is to make sure that you keep everything in your folder so that when you get ready to burn to your CD, everything stayed together. Okay? Well, what we did is we made sure that it opened up in a new window so that as soon as you close that new window, your PowerPoint presentation was still in the background. So we made sure it opened up in a new window. See, what happens from a faculty perspective is that they wanted to see it a different way. So because we were doing something new, I had to make sure that there wasn't too much deviation that was going to shock the people who were actually assessing the portfolio. I knew that part. So we wanted to make sure that we left that particular piece that they were very, very familiar with, because I can already hear them saying, as I would say as well, even if I embedded it into that document, how do I get to it? I want to do something else with it. I want to make it larger. And so I know that they would have had difficulty with doing that. So it was better for us to go ahead and have it to open up in a different window. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is always with the student. And I'm glad you said that because this was the piece that I forgot to really mention was that from various different feasibilities, because the process that we utilize right now, you remember I said that we are spread out into 19 counties in the state of Florida. The process that currently occurs now with the paper-based portfolio is that the student finishes the portfolio. That portfolio is then shipped to main campus. From main campus, it's shipped back to the faculty. Remember, we're talking about big binders. And it's shipped back to the faculty. And from the faculty, once they finish assessing, it's shipped back to main campus. From main campus, it's shipped to the student. So as you can see, there's a lot of shipping that's going on with these big binders. And so we needed to be more cost effective with respect to that shipping cost. And so we were able to minimize, not eliminate, but at least minimize that particular cost piece. And then from the faculty's perspective, remember the binders are kind of big, so we actually were able to reduce the amount of information that we actually had because we had a CD as opposed to a binder. No.
Excuse me for interrupting, but two other points on that. I was at a conference in Helsinki in 2005, and it was on e-portfolios, and I attended a session, the legal implications of being on the web. We have police officers. We have all kinds of people handing in portfolios. So we were very cautious in this area to put that information up in a web format because we could, not only because the university could be sued if it was broken into, but also for the students' protection as far as that went. And students appreciate that they can put it on a DVD, and they're just as easy to change and update and things like that. Also, on occasion, and I hope my dean doesn't watch this, our server goes down. So faculty would be at home, be so ready to do their portfolios, and they couldn't access the server, something like that. Yes. Our portfolio is competency-based. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with, well, you're probably not, Alverno College in the Midwest. Some people are. That means that we try to match the portfolio, if it's a legal secretary, to the person who heads our legal program, our legal BS degree in legal studies and things like that. But it is really designed to measure competencies, which we feel any one of our faculty is capable of doing that. We do try to match business people with business portfolios, but we have a plethora of business portfolios, so that doesn't always happen. Okay, so it isn't. And we are an academic discipline match rather than a course match program. We are not asking students to tell us that they have the equivalent of Accounting 201, but the general skills of business accounting that they can transfer from one institution to another. Okay?
The reason for our IT mentors and staff for the Blackboard site was really just to assist the students in the technical aspects of the PowerPoint, doing the linking, making sure that their file names were not too large, because the larger they are, the least likely they are going to be able to be opened at a later date, especially when you're bringing it to from your computer to a CD-ROM. It does add length to the characters. So those are the reasons for having a particular IT mentor and instructor with our Blackboard. But as far as the overall process with the all of our portfolios, is they are evaluated in a committee format, and there's representation from our faculty from all of the disciplines.
There isn't an extra fee. They get a technical manual, and you have the first page of that manual in your handouts. It's all included in the administrative fee for the price of, that is, the mentoring, the seminars they go to, the workshops they go to, the online Blackboard, the faculty evaluation, my salary, oh yeah, I volunteer myself. Everything is included in one administrative fee. Yes, no matter how many credits they get, there's a flat fee for that. But we find that 50% of our students get 15 to 18 credits or more. So we know we're not going to encourage someone who, I'd say our fee now is like the equivalent to 4 college credits at our school. We're not going to encourage anyone who we thought didn't have that to do a portfolio. They might as well just take the coursework. If they're not cited, CAEL puts up on its website its studies back to the 70s. You can. Now, I'm not sure what the title would be: research studies, articles, this, that, and the other thing. But they're very accessible, and you might want to. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the contact person, Kathy Brigham or something like that. They're very accessible, CAEL, if you can get a name, just, and work with that person, and they'll help you find any previous research studies that have been done. 120 college credits for a degree and our baccalaureate program. So if they transferred in an associate degree, 60 credits, they have to do 30 in residency, that would be 10 courses, and a portfolio. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. That doesn't happen for everyone. Maybe they have to take 12 courses or, 13 or 14 courses besides their...
Outside of our residency requirements, which are the 30 credits, they could actually transfer in up to a full 90 credits from all of our prior learning assessments.
I don't know anyone who's done that yet, but that option is there, for them. And I think more likely schools like Thomas Edison in New Jersey and Regent's College in New York, they're like for people who have been traveling around and, perhaps their husband or wives have been in the military. They have 3 credits here, 9 credits here, this, that, and they just send everything to this one college and they evaluate it and say, okay, do a portfolio and take 2 English courses somewhere and we'll give you a degree. And they're very legitimate. They're not, off the cuff or anything like that. Anyone else? We're very approachable, so if you have any questions, we had trouble to show you what the links look like. This one person especially, she worked at American Express, but previously she worked at Macy's, and we all love that link. If you know, Macy's is one of our biggest department stores in the United States. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.